What's going on? Welcome back to the channel. So today when I talk to you about Lucid, I want to go over the latest updates, what shorts did, and go over everything else you need to know. But first, make sure to hit that thumbs up, and with that, let's get right to it. And on a side note, later in this video, I will be going over Rivian, just breaking it down on why it did sell off as much as it did. And I'm going to be doing that going forward, primarily talking about Lucid and then integrating a occasional EV if there's a catalyst, such as yesterday for Polestar and Rivian and so forth. So kind of stay tuned for that. But Lucid did go down 0.94%, 1105 the high, 1071 the low. So it did show some signs that it wanted to really move higher. Based on the flow right here, a lot of algorithmic trading. So that's been a kind of a common scenario for Lucid for the last several months, and just over about 5 million shares being traded. Aside from that though, the big thing for today was the data. So we did have before the bell, mortgage applications, mortgage market index, PPI, retail sales, all came in on point. Aside from that, we also did have just after the bell, existing home sales similarly coming in better than anticipated. So this is something I've complained about in the past, how the market wants negative data. So if stuff comes in positive, like it throws a little bit of a temper tantrum. And today, most likely was the last actual day that the market felt that a January cut was on the table. So we're now going to be looking at March the 18th as being potentially the next rate cut, 25 basis points. So at the end of the day, that is why the market kind of went down. At the same time, there is a certain level of grayness associated to Greenland, and there's been a lot of updates. Trump seems to be very adamant about taking that over. It might be potentially a little bit of a battle, but nonetheless, the market doesn't like gray whatsoever. So especially geopolitical, trade, or whatever, the market doesn't like that. So maybe there's maybe some escalation that does happen. And on a side note, the market is closed this upcoming Monday. So for instance, if this is still lingering associated to Greenland, most likely you're going to see quite the sell-off on Friday. One thing that was also supposed to come out today was the Supreme Court ruling for the tariffs. And unfortunately, there was no comments that were made. We similarly last Friday, same thing, no comments were made. It was adjourned to today. As far as I can see, I don't think there was no new adjournment date set just yet. So right now the market's kind of just still stuck in limbo on that. So I feel like a lot of people do bring that up, but nobody really explains on if they do get overturned, what does that mean for the broader market? How is that going to impact? So I feel like that is so complex, just people can't really fathom what that would mean for the broader market. So that's also kind of stuck in limbo a little bit as well. So let me know your general thoughts on that. Lucid hasn't put out any official news at all today. There was this that unfortunately I didn't bring up yesterday, but there was a amended 13G, just signaling that Bank of America did amend their share count to 3.4 million, and it previously did signal 17.1. They didn't account for the whole reverse stock split, so rather comical for that. So this is why it does show it went down 79.84%. It's just a error on their side, which is rather interesting. Because you don't really see that kind of happening too often. So the company really dropped the ball quite significantly, but only thing really coming out associated to Lucid was this, talking about AMP2. So AMP2 is going to be that very big deal for Lucid. I've mentioned that because that's going to help with global expansion. I've done the numbers even in the past, and technically it's cheaper to ship from AMP2 to Canada than it is to kind of ship from AMP1. And that's not technically even talking about any tariffs. That was prior to any tariffs being in place. So AMP2 is going to be a very big deal for Lucid going forward. Here kind of mentions that it's going to be kind of mid-2026. That's when it can actually be self-sufficient. And so that's one step forward, again, to good progress. I always like to give you the good, the bad, and the ugly. Hopefully you do appreciate that. I think there's just way too many bulls out there that like to spin narratives. So a lot of individuals are taking this as a overwhelming positive, but coming from someone who's covered Lucid for a very long time, them being at full capacity, 150,000, that was supposed to be originally 2026. Then it got pushed to 2027, mid 2027. So now it's saying full production capacity of 150,000 cars in 2029. So they did push it back. So again, I know a lot of bulls are taking this for a very good positive, which it is generally, but there is a negative that they're trying to hide in here, and that's just how it got pushed to 2029. In all fairness, I don't really see Lucid being at anywhere full capacity, especially for AMP1 and AMP2 anytime soon, because right now AMP1 can do, I believe, 90,000, and we hit 18, just over 18. So we're not even close to being close, like max capacity. So yes, they did push it to 2029, but most likely it's not that big of a deal, in my opinion. When it comes down to Rivian, I just wanted to give you a quick overview of that. We did get a couple negative ratings associated to them. So UBS did give a sell $15 price target. Joseph, who has a 47% success rating. Then we also got a $16 sell. Wolf, 35% success rating. So ultimately, this is why I wanted to kind of talk about both. So Rivian did go down 7.37% because of these ratings, even though they did put out a lot of good news recently about them kind of really developing their AI and so forth, and higher levels of autonomous driving. These analysts feel that that's already kind of factored into the price and it's too high. So as a consensus, 1755 is that price target, representing a 0.4% upside. So near the end of the video, I'll give you a very quick overview of Rivian just based on that. So again, stay tuned for this. If you do want analyst ratings and analyst forecasts, everything under the sun, take a look at IBKR, link in the description below and also the comments. But aside from that, getting back to Lucid, so 35.79% of the free float is being shorted. So we are officially having a new all-time high short interest. So again, for those of you that think Lucid is a squeeze play, that might get you a little bit more excited. 46.6 million shares overall being shorted. Shorts today did increase 238,000 shares. That is net. At the peak, it looks like they increased about 1.3 million. So they were fairly active because, again, shorts overall, the overall volume was about 5.1 million. So shorts did make up for a good chunk of the daily volume. DTC being at 5.82 days really does signal that shorts are overextended. Aside from all of that, looking at the options, 375,000 in calls, 2.6 million in puts. 43% of all the options being done are bearish in nature. From a bull standpoint, you still see a consensus for it to be roughly around 1150. Bears are anticipating for it to be sub 1050. So a little bit more of a back and forth. Definitely a lot more upside, but frequency is more oriented towards down. These are all the transactions occurring on the secondary market. So we did have three buys, 2 sells. So not too much going on for that. And then these are all the transactions occurring on the dark pool. So again, this is why I always like to break it down where volume actually does come from. And so, as I mentioned, first kind of minute, most of the volume came from algorithmic trading. And that's been a very common scenario for Lucid. Hopefully their upcoming earnings changes that. And closer to the date, I'll give you a quicker or more in-depth overview of some estimates and stuff along those lines. With it closing at 1084, it is trading between this S1 and this S2. So 1063, 1094 is going to be the next strong support and target. So kind of just watch for that. And especially if you're a day trader or swing trader, just kind of watch for that 1063. Aside from that, though, quickly popping right back over here on the actual chart, there's never really anything positive to bring up about Lucid. Like you see kind of less willing buyers right now. It's below all the key pivotal moving averages. Stochastic RSI is at 70, so arguably considered overbought. It's just not a good scenario. And I feel like very, very rarely does it like actually look good. And it's kind of funny. Lucid is always one of those difficult stocks because it shows a little bit of optimism and then it just skyrockets. Like it's either a massive success or either it just slowly bleeds, and that's kind of one of the worst ways to invest in a stock that just slowly bleeds. And I think largely all of this does go down because institutions aren't backing it right now. So hopefully things do change for that. Associated to Rivian, today it did break below that 50-day moving average. So that generally is a very big deal for a lot of growth stocks. And this is overlaid with also Lucid and Tesla. So Lucid, this is the blue line, Lucid. This teal line is Tesla. So Rivian's actually surprisingly done fairly well recently. A lot better than both of them, but still right now it does look like the tables are starting to turn with Rivian, that things are starting to really break down. So let me know your thoughts on, I guess, Lucid and Rivian. Are you buying? Are you selling? What are you generally kind of thinking with EVs? One final thing, pop over to my Patreon if you're looking for some solid buy signals on stocks, options, crypto. Put out daily day trades, numerous swing trades. Worthwhile to pop over there and check that out. With all that said, appreciate all of you watching.